Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy, with another tale of extreme tragedy, supposedly from a past life. So, yep, part 4 of Art History Tarot for Past Lives. The question I asked this time was, why do I cry when I see scenes of heroic rescue? So, for example, or if I read about them in books also, you would think that these would be happy, victorious sorts of um, occasions when you would be filled with a sense of victory, of, you know, so the fact that I feel like grief when this is happening, or a great potential for grief when this is happening. And it could be like the Harry Potter movies when, and I don't know that I ever saw the movie, but in the book, in any case, when Mrs. Weasley comes to the rescue of her daughter in the face of the evil witch that I can't remember the name of. That was totally got to me. And all as over the years, as I've thought about this, as I've had these responses, and it usually is regarding a daughter, but not always, or a child, that I have this kind of response to, that that maybe there was some situation in a past life when there was a situation when either I or somebody I cared about needed to be rescued, and there was an attempt to rescue, and it failed, and I was helpless too. So I was not part of the rescue. I was an onlooker, wanting the rescue to occur, and that it didn't occur, and that, so that whenever a rescue scene is being played out, what's triggered is a past failure to be rescued, or having somebody that, that was this level of connection die as a result of an inability to rescue. And so I decided to look into it. So crying regarding scenes of rescue, what's that about? Why? So Asia popped out, and I found Asia a little, I don't know. I mean, why not Asia, right? in some ways, the place cards seem kind of superfluous to me, and I've got 2 of them in here. So the only way I could see, like in here, is that this might be marking one lifetime, and this might be marking another lifetime in which something similar happened. So again, the accumulation of nasty stuff happening in multiple lifetimes. So one of the things I'm going to do when I get done with this is I'm going to gather these cards up. If I can remember over the next couple of minutes, is I'm going to gather these cards up, and I'm going to show you how much of the deck was used in my 4 or 5. 1, 2, 5 inquiries. How much of the deck was used. And then I want to look at the cards that didn't get used to see if there is a possibility of getting non-tragic readings out of this deck. Is it just me, or is it the nature of the deck that you're not likely to escape tragedy? Of course, when you pull this many cards, it seems likely that you will hit tragedy. But I'm not just hitting a little bit of tragedy here. I'm like hitting the tragedy jackpot. So, so we start in Asia. Once again, I have indigenous woman. Now, these first three cards could be, I don't know if other people experience this, but sometimes when I pull cards, the first couple of cards seem to be saying, we hear you and we know that you're asking about X, Y, and Z. It like lays out what my inquiry is. And this strikes me as that. So we're going to say me, not as indigenous, but as a dark-haired woman. Hey, what the heck? Brokenhearted, as I said, I cry during in dreams, things that are not real, scenarios that occur in fiction is what I really end up responding to. So this strikes me as just saying, we understand that this is what you're asking about. And then kind of hits me with genetic illness and abandonment. So this would lead me to believe, and so would the death card showing up in here, my scenario, that that there was a moment of need that was not met. You know, there was a need to be rescued that was not met. And with these two cards, it could have been some form of genetic illness, and a person was left behind, not cared for, abandoned as a result of that genetic illness. And who knows what it, what it involved. With, it could have been a mental illness. If you're, some indigenous cultures in North America saw certain behaviors as what they called, I think it's Wendigo. Don't hold me to that, but anyway, and would shun the person. So, but this is Asia. So, and that ends up being really hard to kind of make some sense of the cards, and I don't know how much it's really necessary to make perfect sense of the cards. I think it's not. I think it's okay that it just is a bit on the vague side. But it also struck me that this Hermit, this is Asia, is the Hermit card, that it could be just indicating to me I'm a very solitary person, and that all of the heartbreak that comes along with people is the reason that I am a hermit in this lifetime. So that's also something that I thought this card might allude to. But anyway, so we have good old genetic illness and abandonment. And then we have Africa in the 16th century. But this 16th century appears to be, it is North Dakota, it's North America, it's Mississippi. So it says the discovery of Mississippi by DeSoto. And since I came up as indigenous, I could be indigenous either place, And so we have this lovely thing that runs down here, chronic illness. And I'm like, oh, great, it goes back lifetimes because I've got a chronic illness. Um, and and I could say, again, this could be a healing lifetime because certainly my parents did or have been active in rescuing me during my time of chronic illness. But in times past, death. And so I feel like this scenario number one, scenario number two, and then murder of a karmic connection, the daughter. So at some point, a daughter being murdered and perhaps not being able to save. Again, it could have been who knows, whatever scenario, not being able to save. And maybe it wasn't specifically murder, but, some act of violence that one was unable to save one's daughter from. So yeah, these are the cheery scenarios. It's like, can't our past lives affect us in positive ways? you know? So, heavy duty tragedy. Of course, I'm asking questions. Like, I'm asking questions about why do I cry about this? Why do I have problems with that? So, of course, positive cards are not going to be coming up. So these are, well, actually, there's a couple that I didn't end up using. So I didn't use that one. And I don't think, yes, I did use that one. Oh, it was this one. Okay. So in my 5 inquiries, these are all of the cards that came up. So I had some repeats, but I didn't have a lot. And of course, for some of them, I did pull a lot of cards. So these are the ones that didn't come up. So just about half of the deck in those 5 inquiries showed up for me. And these are the things I didn't get. I didn't get the hero. I didn't get apathy. I didn't get a rational man. I didn't get a loving woman. I didn't get America. So here's some time cards. I didn't get mother. I didn't get traveler, violence, visible woman, sun. So I didn't get much in the way of male cards. I didn't get the sun card. I didn't get sunny Australia. No, in none of those lifetimes did I appear to make it to old age. Too much tragedy, of course, and again, of course, if we're looking into the past, it was only the very fortunate people who managed to make it into old age. I didn't get resolute. I didn't get poison or grief or brother or the Congo specifically. I had slavery, but I didn't have oppression. So nothing that I was involved in seemed to have to do directly with a spouse. There was a spouse that died, apparently in one of mine. It resulted in debtor's prison there, and there was the lover's card. No benevolent men, no heroes, no benevolent men. Europe, so a lot of the times didn't show up for me. No charity. No sister, such a beautiful card. Such just a beautiful card. No betrayal. So let's just look and say, you know, how many of these cards are either neutral or potentially positive? So Mother, Traveler, Invisible Woman, Sun. I'm going to call Australia neutral. Greed is negative. Old age, I'm going to call neutral. In this situation, it could be very good. Place cards and time cards strike me as relatively neutral. Like I said, you don't want justice in the Middle Ages. That was one of the things that came up with me. So the Middle Ages is dicey in terms of calling it neutral. I would call that positive or neutral. Negative. I don't know what they're. Suppose it's 9 of Cups. It should be positive. So I'm going to put the Congo there. Negative. I think I need to start, you know, with the, when times and places come up frequently, I think I need to start interpreting them as the tarot card instead of looking at them as another lifetime or another scenario that's being provided. Charity is good. Sister, betrayal, and because otherwise, I think we're going to be weighted on the negative end of things. If I were to extract all of the time and place cards out of this, then I don't think the positive things are going to measure up to this, our pool of negatives. So these are the neutral or positive cards that could have come up for me. These are the strictly negative cards that didn't come up for me. There's not many of them. So let's look at what I had. I'm feeling persecuted in my past lives, not by the deck. All right, so negative, 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 neutral, negative, neutral, neutral, neutral. This karmic lesson is pretty negative. I'm going to say neutral. Even though justice in the Middle Ages is not good, it's a neutral card. I'm calling that dreams negative. So this is the number of nasty things I got, and that's the number that was left. This is the number left over. These are the number of nasty things I got. I do feel persecuted. All right, so these are the nasty things in this deck. The bogeys. I'm going to look at the place. I'm going to take out the time and the place cards and see what's left to be good or neutral. So there's the people. There's you. I'm just going to put time and place cards. Karmic connection is positive. I'm putting you with the people. Person. I'm going to put justice as a good thing in theory. Well, twin flames are dicey also, but I'm going to put it in there. trying to include good things there. And rational woman. And I should take out maybe true friend and put it there because it's not something that's happened to you. So, hero. Migration's kind of neutral. Religion could be good or bad. So these are the nasty things that could happen to you. And these are the potentially positive or neutral things that could have happened to you in this deck. These are the people cards, relationships, types of people, soldiers, sister, brother relations, indigenous man, so the court cards, and some others. Hero, there's the true friend, father, you, so kind of relationship or the who. And these are the wheres and whens cards. So this is the people, these are the wheres and whens. So I've been doing past lives reading, so not ancestors reading, not necessarily people who are in direct lineage to me. But what it feels like with so many place and time and people cards, especially that are relationship oriented, is almost more that this deck could be a connection to ancestors, and it could be that it's meant to be both things. And like I had said in my original review, it's a versatile deck, and it's very, it was very ambitious. What she was trying to do with this deck was very ambitious. And I didn't get a lot of place and time cards in my readings. And so if I were, I just got bad stuff going on. I wonder how I would interpret them. Would I, as I was just sort of thinking, should I, anything other than the first card representing either time or place, should I revert to the traditional tarot card meanings, which are on them in the lower right corners, the Two of Wands, and interpret them in that way? And her book doesn't give clear guidance in that regard. In any case, that is the end of my past life sob stories. My tragedy saturation in my past lives. And my new perspective on this lifetime is being a healing lifetime, for, overcoming, even if I do have occasional triggers for my past life traumas, that this is clearly a restful, healing sort of lifetime. Yeah. So I'll be very curious as more people get this deck to see how your readings go, and what sense you make if you do get readings that have lots of the place or time cards, how you interpret it. I hope my examples help you consider like what kind of questions to ask, and maybe how many cards to pull. Maybe I was a glutton for punishment by continuing to pull cards when I was getting death and murder and drowning and etc. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope y'all found it interesting. Of course, what do I have on the bottom but loss? But I find them very worthwhile. I did find my readings eye-opening, and some of them actually did make quite a bit of sense in terms of the question that I was asking. So, yep, I will be very curious to see other people's readings with these cards. Take care. Bye-bye.